When I found out I was pregnant, it happened early in the morning, mid-October. It was still dark outside, and I was standing in the bathroom holding the test, feeling like time had completely stopped. I didn't scream or cry. I just sat on the cold edge of the tub, staring at the 2 lines, slowly realizing everything is going to change. In the other room, my husband Alex was still asleep, breathing softly. I crawled back into bed, curled up beside him, and whispered, "You're going to be a dad." He opened his eyes, smiled like a little kid, and wrapped his arms around me. It was our moment, quiet and pure. But it didn't last long. The next day, we drove to his mom's house to tell her the news. She lives about 20 minutes from us, in a tidy 1-story house with a perfectly manicured lawn and shelves full of porcelain angels. Janet is a stern, exacting woman, always a bit on edge. Just pulling into her driveway gave me a knot in my stomach. Alex squeezed my hand. "It'll be fine," he said. He said that a lot. It didn't change much. When Janet heard the news, she screamed, not from horror, from joy. A loud, unnatural shriek like someone just won the lottery. Then she grabbed my hands and said, "My girl is pregnant," even though I'm not her girl and never have been. And in her eyes, I didn't see joy. I saw something else. Something obsessive, clingy, possessive. From that day forward, everything changed. Janet wasn't just excited. She got involved. At first it was mild. Calling every few days, checking in, dropping off food. She looked at my belly like it was some sacred object. But soon it became invasive. She started showing up unannounced. Opened our fridge, changed our armchair covers because they were dusty. One time she brought an air ionizer and plugged it in next to our bed. "For the baby," she said. I tried to stay calm, smiled, said thank you. But inside I was building a wall. Everything about my body, my pregnancy, my choices, she turned it all into her business. Janet thought she knew better. She had experience. She'd given birth to Alex in 1988, and that apparently made her an expert in everything. When we started talking about the birth, I made it clear. I only wanted Alex with me, no relatives, no friends, just us. That was my choice, my comfort, my boundary. Janet laughed. "That's what you say now, but when the contractions start, you'll want your mom, or at least someone who's been through it." I repeated myself. "No," she acted like she hadn't heard. Over time, it escalated. She began sending me articles, supposedly scientific, about the benefits of maternal support during labor. She forwarded me YouTube videos of water births, asked if she could practice breathing with me. At 28 weeks, she gave me a box, and inside it was a nurse's costume, white with a red cross on the chest. In her size, she explained, "So I don't stand out among the hospital staff when I'm there with you." I forced a smile and later spent the evening crying in the bathroom. I begged Alex to talk to her. He tried, but gently, like he was afraid of shattering some fragile peace between the 2 women he loved. He'd say things like, "She just wants to help. She wants to be involved. You don't understand how much she's been waiting for this grandchild." Deep down, I knew he didn't support her, not really, but he also wasn't protecting me. I felt completely alone. At 32 weeks, I took action. We picked a hospital farther away, almost 40 minutes. I registered under my maiden name. I explained to the staff that I wanted privacy, that it was essential to my sense of safety. Alex was surprised. Janet was furious. She found out, probably through Alex's sister. She called me, her voice shaking. "Are you seriously hiding where you're giving birth?" I said. "I just want peace. This is an intimate moment." She hung up. An hour later, Alex got a text. "Your wife is trying to rob me of the most important moment of my life. How can you allow this?" That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. I wondered if I really was being cruel, if I was being too harsh. But every time I pictured her face in that delivery room, heard her voice, imagined her hands on me, I felt sick. This wasn't about hatred. It was about boundaries, about my body, my sense of safety. I thought that if I explained myself calmly, firmly, rationally, she would get it. I thought motherhood would teach me how to be strong. I thought Alex would stand next to me and say, "Enough." I thought things would go the way I needed them to go. I was wrong. A month before my due date, the situation at home began to feel like a siege. Janet, my mother-in-law, shifted from passive concern to outright pressure. This wasn't support, it was invasion. She called every day. First thing in the morning to ask if I'd felt anything special yet. Then around lunch, just to chat. Then again in the evening, allegedly to wish me a good night. But every conversation ended the same way. "You do understand I'll be there, no matter what you say." She said it softly, almost sweetly, like she was sharing a secret, but there was steel in her voice, not a request, a command, and that made it worse, because to her, this was normal. Obvious. Her son, her grandchild, her family, and me, just the temporary vessel. Every day she sent articles, podcasts, TikToks. The topics ranged from birth trauma without maternal presence to why women need elder support during labor. One day she even sent a picture of a plush toy with the caption, "For the baby, so he won't feel stress when I meet him for the first time," as if it was already a done deal. I tried talking to Alex. I explained that I was overwhelmed, that every new attempt Janet made to insert herself into my birth plan was draining me. He listened. He nodded. He said he'd talk to her, but nothing changed. It was like he was trying to hold down the lid on a boiling pot without turning off the heat. One day I broke down. After another phone call where Janet reminded me how in her day women weren't so closed off and selfish, I ended up on the floor crying. I couldn't breathe. The air felt thick. I felt my baby go still inside me, as if reacting to my panic. Alex found me curled up by the bed. He helped me up, hugged me, but said nothing. We sat in silence. My dreams turned dark. I saw Janet standing outside the delivery room with a box of pastries and a teddy bear, demanding to be let in, to see her soul's mirror. I saw her arguing with nurses, grabbing my newborn from the bassinet and walking off. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, my belly hard with tension. Each time reminded me. The clock was ticking and my sense of control was slipping away. I returned to the hospital. At my next appointment, I asked to be registered under my maiden name. I explained the situation without going into detail, just with the right tone. The nurse understood immediately. "You're not the first. We'll make a note." It didn't erase the fear, but it gave me something that felt like control. I revised my birth plan, added a line, "No visitors. Husband only." In case there was a shift change, taped a copy to our fridge, wrote out an emergency list for Alex in case Janet showed up unannounced. He read it, nodded. But I could tell he didn't believe it would come to that. But I did. I knew. At 36 weeks, I muted Janet's notifications. 2 days later, I blocked her number. I just couldn't anymore. I couldn't listen, read, think. I was living in constant tension, waiting for the knock on the door. Every noise outside felt like her footsteps. Alex tried to convince me to unblock her. Said she was worried, that I shouldn't provoke things. I asked him, "Are you worried about me, or just about keeping the peace?" He didn't answer. At 37 weeks, Janet started calling my friends. One sent me a screenshot. "You're close to her, right? Just tell me when Emily goes into labor." I need to be there, quietly, no drama. My hands were shaking. She was gathering intel. This wasn't family, it was surveillance, a power move. She couldn't let go of her son and refused to recognize me as an equal. One night, I overheard Alex speaking in the hallway. He was trying to sound calm, but I caught phrases. "She's serious. No, she's not letting you in. Please, Mom, just respect her choice." I wanted to hug him, to thank him, but I didn't move, because even now, he hadn't said any of that to me. Only in whispers, only in secret. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I lay in the dark, rubbing my belly, whispering to myself, "You're not crazy. You're not cruel. You're just protecting yourself." But deep down, I knew. This was only the beginning. Janet doesn't give up. Never. The next day, I found an envelope in our mailbox. I recognized Janet's handwriting immediately. Inside was a greeting card with a cartoon baby in a blanket and a neatly folded note. "You might not let me into the delivery room, but I'll still be there. I'm part of this family. And when he's old enough, I'll tell him how you tried to keep him from me." My hands shook. I crumpled the paper and threw it in the trash. Then I dug it back out and tucked it into a drawer. Let it sit there, proof of how far she's willing to go. I didn't doubt it anymore. She wasn't just an anxious grandma. She was someone who would cross every line if you didn't let her in nicely. And I didn't know what scared me more. Labor Day, or everything that would come after. I woke up at 3 a.m. with a deep aching pain low in my abdomen. At first, I didn't believe it. It felt like the usual late pregnancy discomfort. But 15 minutes later came another wave, and then another. I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching my belly, whispering to myself, "This is it." Alex woke from the sound of my breathing. "Is it starting?" he asked, springing up, his eyes wide with sleep and anticipation. I nodded, trying to stay calm. We had everything ready, bag by the door, paperwork in a folder, backup phone charging. I took a warm shower, checked the list again, hugged the cat, and stepped out into the cool, quiet night. Everything was still. It felt like the whole world was holding its breath with me. The drive to the hospital took 40 minutes. We barely spoke, just held hands. The city outside was empty, washed in streetlight. I stared out the window with one hand on my belly. The baby kicked gently. Alex squeezed my fingers. We didn't need words. The emergency entrance was peaceful. The night staff looked sleepy but kind. A nurse greeted us and immediately recognized my maiden name. "Emily M.," she said, smiling. "We've been expecting you." I exhaled. Everything was going to plan. They checked me in and walked me to a private room. Dim lighting, soft bedding, no machines beeping unnecessarily. My OB examined me. Labor had begun naturally. Alex stayed by my side, helping me breathe through each wave. It hurt, but I felt strong, focused. We'd picked calming instrumental music, and for the first time in months, I felt like maybe everything would be okay. That feeling lasted 3 hours. Around 9 a.m., a nurse entered the room. She was calm, but her expression was tight. "Emily, I'm so sorry. There's a woman downstairs. She says she's your mother." "My mom's in another state," I replied, immediately tense. "She claims to be the grandmother. She's very insistent." I closed my eyes. "Janet," she nodded softly. "We told her visitors aren't allowed. She's refusing to leave." My heart dropped. I felt my whole body go cold. "She cannot come in. This is a violation. I warned everyone. We understand. We've called security." "But she's causing a scene." The door opened. Alex walked in, pale and rattled. "She's here," he said, not meeting my eyes. I don't know how she found out. Your sister," he nodded, guilty. My chest tightened. I'd done everything. And here she was, at the door of the one place I tried to protect. I felt betrayed. I heard the voices before I saw anyone. First low, then louder. "She's my daughter-in-law. I have rights. Ma'am, please calm down. You don't understand. She's taking my family away." There was static from a walkie-talkie, footsteps, a door slam. Alex left the room. I was alone. Pain surged through my body. It wasn't just labor. It was fear, helplessness. She was here. Again, more shouting in the hall, then crying, then her voice on the hospital phone, pleading with reception. "Tell her she's destroying our family. She's keeping my grandson from me." A nurse returned. "We've made it clear she's not allowed in, but she says she'll stay downstairs." "She is waiting," I nodded. I didn't have the energy to argue anymore. Alex came back. "I'm sorry," he said. "You didn't stop her," I answered. "I didn't think she'd actually come." I turned away. My body hurt. My mind hurt more. In the most vulnerable moment of my life, I had no defense. The doctor suggested an epidural. As they inserted the needle, I squeezed the nurse's hand and held back tears. Not from pain, but from loss. I wanted this day to feel sacred. Janet had poisoned it. Alex sat beside me. He held my hand. He cried when our son was born. He cut the cord. He told me he loved me, but I felt distant, like it was happening through glass. Because even as I held my baby to my chest, I knew she was still downstairs, waiting. And I didn't know what scared me more, the pain of labor, or knowing this woman would never go away. I spent the first day in the hospital room with my son, barely speaking to Alex. The doctor checked in every few hours. Nurses brought water, checked temperatures, showed me how to latch the baby to my breast. I did everything on autopilot. I didn't feel joy or relief, only intense focus, like my baby's entire safety depended solely on me. He was the only real thing in the room. Alex felt like a shadow, someone watching through glass. His touches were gentle but distant. He didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I wanted him to say anything at all. Our son was tiny like a baby bird and yet somehow so heavy in my arms. When I held him to my chest, I felt a wall go up between me and the rest of the world. I whispered to him, "You're safe now. I won't let anyone take you." It was a vow, a promise, a threat, to someone I didn't need to name. On the second day, Alex handed me my phone. I didn't want to look, but curiosity won. The screen lit up. 27 unread messages, almost all from Janet. "You're keeping my grandson from me. You have no right to do this to our family. Alex, tell her she's gone insane. Should I be ashamed of such a daughter-in-law? Not a single. How are you? Or is he healthy? Or are you okay?" Just blame, guilt, anger. I turned the sound off, put the phone down, and breathed, like I'd reclaimed a few inches of air around me. "Did you answer her?" I asked Alex when he came back. He looked down. "I told her you were tired, that it wasn't the time. Did you tell her she crossed a boundary, that she had no right to show up?" He hesitated. "I didn't want to make it worse. She wouldn't understand anyway." There it was, the crack between us. Not new, but now painfully obvious. He still didn't get it. Or he got it and wouldn't admit it. I didn't feel like we were on the same side anymore. When it was time to leave the hospital, I was more anxious than I'd been before labor. I felt shaky, uncertain. I told the nurses again, no visitors. I asked Alex to make it clear to his family. He nodded, avoiding my eyes. We left the room. I held our son wrapped in a soft blue blanket. He was asleep, curled against my chest. I walked slowly, my body still sore and weak. Alex walked beside me carrying the car seat. Everything was quiet, until we reached the exit. That's when I saw the balloons, a lot of them. Welcome baby, it's a boy, helium bundles, ribbons. A banner strung across the entryway. Grandma is waiting, 2 giant teddy bears. And a photographer. A real one with a professional camera and a press badge around her neck. And of course Janet, wearing a dress, her hair done, makeup perfect, holding a bouquet the size of a suitcase. She stepped toward us, smiling wide. Surprise, I thought we could do a little photo shoot. Your son's first day should be special. I froze. So did Alex. You knew we didn't want guests, I said, quietly. I didn't come inside, I just wanted to bring joy. To make memories. Are you really this cold? The photographer stepped closer. Can we move the baby a bit more to the right? No, I said. We're leaving. Emily, don't be so harsh. They're just pictures for the family. For what? To commemorate you crossing another line? I turned to Alex. Did you know? He flushed. She said she'd just leave a gift at the door. I stepped back. Then again, I turned and walked toward the alternate exit. Our son pressed against me. Alex followed, silently. Behind us, I heard Janet shout, "You're driving a wedge between me and my son. You're tearing the family apart." I didn't look back. In the car, no one spoke. Alex stared out the window. I stared at our son and thought, he's the only person who matters now. At home, I locked myself in the bedroom and stayed there until nightfall. Alex didn't try to come in. He sat in the kitchen, then the living room. At one point, I heard him on the phone, first quiet, then louder. "No, Mom, you don't understand, because it was her choice, because you ruined everything." It didn't comfort me. The next day was supposed to be the traditional family dinner after discharge. Alex canceled it, said I was exhausted. Janet was offended. His grandmother cried. His aunt texted me, "You're overreacting. Family isn't a crime." I read it and deleted it. Then the whisper started. Alex's friends messaged, "Did you really block Alex's mom from the hospital? She was just trying to be involved. Couldn't you have made one exception?" Our neighbor asked with a polite smile. Janet said she barely has any baby pictures. "Mind if I pass along your Instagram stories?" I closed our front door and locked it. Not just for safety, for space. I didn't know how else to explain that this wasn't a tantrum. It wasn't drama. It was survival. And no one seemed to care. It's been 2 weeks. Our son is 15 days old. He sleeps curled up against me, warm and heavy, like his tiny body is the only anchor keeping me in this reality. I barely leave the bedroom. I rarely eat, barely sleep. Time passes, but I don't feel it. The house is silent, like a library. Only the soft creak of floorboards, the rhythm of my baby's breathing. Silence I've come to depend on. Alex sleeps in the other room now. He hasn't left us, but he's no longer close either. We speak only when necessary. Diapers, bottles, bathwater. He takes care of our son carefully, lovingly, like a man doing his duty. I can see that he loves the baby, but with me there's a hollow space. Not anger, not even sadness, just distance. Like he's standing on the shore while I drift farther out in a boat. We're not speaking the same language anymore. Every evening he goes out on the balcony with his phone. I know who he's talking to. I hear snatches sometimes. "She won't talk. It's not the right time. You need to stop." Then he returns with containers of food, a new stuffed animal, a card that says, "For your first step, from her." Always from her. When the letter came from a lawyer, I didn't open it right away. It sat on the kitchen table for a full day. Then, in the middle of the night, I finally tore it open. It was real. Janet had filed a petition, a formal request for visitation rights as a grandparent. The language was polite, clinical, as if I wasn't a person, just an obstacle. I stood in the kitchen, the paper trembling in my hands. Alex walked in and froze. He already knew. "She's just trying to scare us," he said. "She won't go through with it." "She already has," I said. "This isn't a warning. It's an attack." He said nothing. That was the breaking point. I had known she was capable of going too far, but this, involving the legal system, a courtroom, strangers in our private life, that was a threshold I hadn't imagined. We started fighting. Not little disagreements, real fights. He said I was shutting everyone out. I said he never stood up for me. He said she just wanted to be part of our son's life. I said I wanted peace, safety. He asked, do you really think cutting her out completely is normal? I stayed quiet. Other times I shouted. Once I said the thing I'd been afraid of most. I think you'll always choose her, even when you're silent. The next morning he packed a bag, said he needed a couple days to clear his head. I didn't stop him. I didn't cry, I just closed the door behind him. The house got even quieter. Just me and the baby. He didn't understand what was happening. He just needed warmth, milk, hands to hold him. I sat next to him for hours, watching him breathe, stroking his fingers, inhaling the scent of his skin. The loneliness didn't come all at once. It came slowly, like fog seeping under the door. Late that night, I opened my laptop. I went to Reddit. To AITA. I typed, AITA for keeping my mother-in-law away from my newborn and going no contact after she came to the hospital uninvited. I told everything. From the early months of pregnancy to the moment Janet appeared with balloons and a photographer. I explained how I tried to set boundaries, how no one listened, how I felt like I was disappearing, how I didn't know anymore whether I was being protective or simply closing off. The responses came fast. NTA, your boundaries were clear. She trampled all of them. Your husband's neutrality is enabling abuse. Being a grandmother isn't a right, it's earned. If she's willing to take you to court, she was never safe to begin with. I read them. I didn't feel vindicated, just still. Like a storm inside me had briefly quieted, like I could hear myself think again, but I closed the laptop after a while. I looked at my son. He slept like always, nose buried in his blanket, lips slightly parted, his breath soft against my chest. I wondered what kind of man he would become, what he would remember, what he would feel growing up in this space between silence and conflict. I was afraid that one day he'd ask me, why didn't I have a grandma? And I wouldn't know how to answer without bitterness. I was afraid that someday he'd think I was too harsh, that I didn't try, that I pushed everyone away. But most of all, I was afraid that I'd forget the difference between protecting and isolating, that I'd build walls I wouldn't know how to take down, that I'd keep everyone out, not just her, maybe even Alex. I sat there in the dark. My son rose and fell with each breath against me. Outside, the sky was turning, dawn bleeding slowly into the night. I didn't know what would come next, but I knew this. I'd made my choice, and now I had to live with it.